special interest.
I didn't pay for that.
Oh, yeah, you did. Lansing politicians say the tax is going to the roads, but nearly 40% of it goes to special interests.
Well, that's part of the commercial paid for by opponents of Prop 1, which would raise the state sales tax by a penny, with that money going to improving the roads and a few other things as well. Welcome back to Let It Rip. On the panel right now, he's the vice president of the Detroit Regional Chamber. Brad Williams is also a member of the Safe Roads Yes campaign, who says a penny raised would save money and lives. Next to him is a man who also wants to repair the roads, but who says that the current idea is not the way to do it. Andrew Rocky Richkowski is with the Coalition Against Higher Taxes and Special Interest Deals. Also with us is Terry Spizak, Director of Public Services of Wayne County. He knows the roads better than anybody else here because it's his job to manage the people and the money to fix them. And of course, you've all met Charlie. Let's go to the streets right now. Just today, the Board of Canvassers okayed the official language for Proposal 1 to appear on the May 5th ballot. Very complex constitutional amendment, which would essentially raise taxes by a penny. Now, usually the Chamber doesn't support tax increases, but you are now. Why?
Yeah, we're hardly tax and spend liberals at the Detroit Regional Chamber. But I think, you know, I've been driving for over 20 years, and I know everyone has been driving for a long time, and the story's been the same for those 20 years. Michigan's roads are in terrible condition, and we've all enjoyed making jokes at our own expenses, but it's not a joke anymore. It's not funny, and it's not safe. We read the story in the Free Press a couple weeks ago about the accident up in Oakland County, where there was 2 fatalities caused by swerving from a pothole. And it's not just potholes. We drive underneath the overpasses every day. We see the plywood, and maybe people don't know what that plywood's for. That plywood is the only thing between your windshield and a chunk of concrete coming through it, because our bridges are crumbling. We need to fix this problem. The legislatures give us an opportunity to do so. They're going to allow us to guarantee that every penny we pay at the gas in tax on gasoline goes to fixing our roads. They're going to guarantee that all the money that goes into the school aid fund goes to pay for schools, and they're going to guarantee that if the roads aren't fixed properly the first time, that the contractors are going to be responsible to come back and fix them. You said it's a complicated proposal. At its essence, it's really quite simple. Our roads are in a disastrous condition. We need to do something to make them safe and efficient, and the taxpayers are demanding it, and they should expect it.
Well, Rocky, your fellow Republican, Governor Rick Snyder, as well as the Republican majority in Lansing, all said this was a good idea. Let's try this. Let's punt on this one and let the voters decide. Why don't you like it?
Well, it sounded really good, but that's not exactly what happens. More than 40% of the money that the voters would be voting for would be going to special interest deals.
Now,
this is a Christmas tree.
What special interest?
Anything from raising the earned income tax credits to expanding money for schools.
Isn't that for poor people?
Well, wait a minute. Hold on one second.
Is that a special interest?
But you can't call this a raising road funding and spending it on other projects. Now, there's a lot of people that are in favor of fixing our roads and looking at a proposal that would actually fix our roads, like our former Speaker, Chase Bolger, passed in the House of Representatives at the end of this last lame duck session. But the problem is that what finally passed the Senate and the governor signed was a Christmas tree of special interest deals. And now, just like our chairman, Paul Mitchell, says, when you raise $2 billion in new taxes, these are $2 billion of new taxes, with only $1.2 billion going to roads. It's not just about fixing our roads. The legislature can do everything that the chamber just talked about without putting all that extra $700 or $800 million on this proposal.
Terry, you manage 700 people. You have a $300 million budget. Give us the real lowdown. What will it take?
Well, in Wayne County, we've got about 6,500 lane miles of roads that we have to take care of and maintain. We receive from the Act 51, which is the state gas tax that come into to fund our roads, roughly about $55 million. And it sounds like a lot of money. It is a lot of money, but it costs about $2 million to pave a mile of road. So if you do the math, you're going to come up very quickly that this doesn't go very far, and that's not including, you know, winter maintenance and plowing and salting and all that. You might say we have a $300 million budget. I also have environmental services under me, so that's a different pot of money. So the road fund itself is about $110 million. And if it's just not, there's not enough money to do everything that we need to provide the services that everybody wants, to provide the safety that everybody needs. So we need more resources into roads, and I think everybody agrees on that. The point is, how do you do that? Rocky just said that, you know, this isn't, you know, you can find this money elsewhere. You know, it's. I don't think that's going to happen elsewhere. I think more money has to come into the system, and we definitely need it for the roads.
Well, wait a minute. There are new proposals that are being dropped as bills in the state Senate and the state House that actually talk about fixing our roads and raising the $1.2 billion without raising taxes. There's different proposals. There are proposals on the table that actually can achieve this, just like Chase Bolger's bill did.
Wait a minute. You know what? This is. What am I missing here? The only bill or idea that's on the table right now is this tax, proposal.
That's it.
There's
tax
nothing else on the table.
You're not looking at Lansing. You're not looking at what's happening in Lansing.
We looked at Lansing last year, and Lansing said, let the voters decide.
There's a new legislature in charge now.
Right now, we have wasted a year. Even if this passes right now, we've wasted a year, and I think the roads get worse in a year. We've got to pass something. This is what we need to do right now to pass this.
Charlie,
another year go by.
Brad?
With due respect, if passing transportation funding were easy, we would have done it a long time ago. The last time we did it was 1997, and Rocky was in the legislature, and he voted against it at that point. We've raised the gas tax one time in 31 years. And if Rocky had had his druthers, the last time we raised the gas tax would have been when the Tigers were world champions and I was 6 years old.
I don't buy that argument. Hold on one second. I don't buy that argument because Michigan is the second high. This would put Michigan as the second highest sales tax state in the country. We have the 5th highest gas tax. The problem is not raising taxes. The problem is how we allocate taxes and how we allocate our funding so that we get our federal match. Let's do it right.
Michigan spends less per capita on road funding than all 50 states in the country.
But we have the highest gas tax.
We spend $1 billion less in Ohio, right to the south. They've got the same weather. They've got a similar transportation system. The question is not whether or not we have the right tax structure. The question is, are we spending enough? And we're not.
Are you kidding me? And you're representing the Chamber of Commerce?
Everybody across the state agrees.
You look at the roads,
and you're representing the Chamber of Commerce.
Look at the roads.
The Chamber of Commerce should be spending time lobbying the legislature to fix the problem the correct way without hurting people.
Rocky, if this fails, where's Plan B? There is no Plan B.
There is a Plan B in the state legislature.
No, it was introduced last time and it failed.
No, that's not correct. You're not looking at Pat Colbeck's legislation.
No, we've got to have we'll have to decide right now. This is the way it's legit. We have to pay for the gas tax.
Legit?
It is legit because we're either going to pay it by gas taxes or we're going to pay it by sales tax. Now the proposal on the table is sales tax.
Charlie,
do it. Let's fix
you recently heard Yellen, our Secretary Yellen, come out and talk about not raising interest rates nationally because we're still growing slowly. In an economy where you're having a hard time growing, because in Michigan we're not growing rapidly, we're still growing slowly.
Where's your plan for the fixed
Hold on one second. You don't raise taxes. You realign the budget priorities in the state of Michigan. You do exactly what Chase Bolger did, and you raise the taxes. You put the state sales tax at the wholesale level.
So if you know you need $1 billion, how are you going to rearrange the budget to get it then?
That's what I just mentioned.
Where? From where's it coming from? Where is it coming from?
What Chase Bolger did.
What did he do?
You put the sales tax at the wholesale level, and you readjust some of your funding in different budgets for education. Because right now,
so where do you take the money from?
I just told you.
Where?
Our state sales tax pays for education. You put education, you take money from other budgets that don't need the spending, the fat and state legislation.
Money from education?
No, you're not listening. To fund education, and you realign our gas tax to specifically go to roads. Then you would have more than the $1.2 billion that you're looking
at. We could take the $2 billion away we spent on the Department of Corrections. We could close prisons. We could take the $1.3 billion away we spent from higher education and increase student loan debt.
You're talking about extremes, and that's what's disappointing. If the Detroit Chamber would have spent as much time lobbying the state legislature on these proposals, we would have had legislators that would have been educated instead of putting a tax proposal in front of the legislature that they did not read.
If the lawmakers would have done their jobs in the first place, we wouldn't be here.
Exactly.
But they didn't.
And
so they're now leaving it to the voters.
There's a new legislature right now in Lansing, and they can address the issue.
I think this is politically damaging also to the legislature, especially now the Republicans control the legislature. I think this is going to be disastrous for the Republicans. I'm just saying.
And now you have Republicans fighting Republicans. You have Republicans going against the governor of the state of Michigan.
This is the first time that I'm actually going to agree with that scoundrel, Gary Peters, and I'll call him that. I will agree with him on this proposal that, quite frankly, he's against and I'm against.
The Democrats are going to use this. The Democrats are going to use this as a campaign ploy to get Democrats elected because Republicans aren't doing anything, and they're not doing anything.
This legislature is different. Charlie, you keep talking about something that happened in the last.
They're not going to raise taxes this time. And realistically, despite what you say, we have to either raise gas tax or sales tax to fix the road.
Either way, gentlemen, we have to make tough choices.
Yes.
Bottom line, we must all do that.
Yes.
We thank you for your comments and your insights. Of course, much more to come. May 5th seems like a long way down the road, but it's not. Very closely. All right, coming up, the number of women now carrying concealed weapons has more than doubled in the last 2 years. So why are so many females now packing heat? Charlie takes that question on the road. Stay with us.
I've been loaded with like 5 bullets.